Alright, now I'm going to show you how to make bullseye beads. So it's 3 layers. We got a center, a middle, and then an outside section. So picking out colors, you need a 1 block for the center. You need 1 block for that next ring. So in this one it's white. I'm going to make it red. And then for the outside, it's going to have the most. You're going to need 2 blocks of that color. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is take the center and roll it into a coil. So as always, we want to get this warmed up a little bit. So I want to try to get this into a nice round little coil here. So in my hand on the table, and my goal here is for it to be about 1 inch in length. So that's pretty good, pretty even. Alright, so next let's start with that next layer. So again, on this one you can see it's white. I'm going to make it red. So what I need to do is wrap this around. So in order to wrap it around, I'm going to flatten it out. So I'm just going to use the handle of my fettling knife. I also have some little kind of rolling pins, some wood dowels that you can use to roll that out. So I'm going to roll it just a little bit and then carefully peel it up so that it doesn't just stay stuck to the table. So I'll roll it a couple times and just kind of keep flipping it. And there's no real exact science to how big it needs to go or be to go all the way around. So I'm just going to kind of test it real lightly. And it's still not quite, so I'm going to go a little bit more. The doesn't always like come out to a perfect square, so we can kind of cut off some of this stuff here and add it along there to make it a square. Again, flip it over, and again, check, test, make sure it goes all the way around. Still not quite. It's a little bit wider than what it needs to be though, so I can cut off this extra stuff here and here and add that to the ends. And re-roll. Check again. So again, I'm just going to gently roll this around here. Now that looks like it fits. So I want to make sure that this sticks. So I'm just going to kind of warm it in my hand and warm this middle piece as well. So as we're rolling things around in our hands and that sort of stuff, we're getting it warmer so it's more flexible and so it'll actually stick together. Since I rolled this one on the table, need to just kind of warm it up that way. Alright, so now I'm ready to roll these two around each other and seal it up. Now I'm gonna really kind of blend it together right here and roll it. Again, some heat to make sure that those 2 layers really get stuck to each other. So some heat, a little bit of pressure on the table. I'm going to roll that out. So again, it should be about 1 inch still. Now we're going to do the same thing with the outside. So I've got 2 pieces here. I can kind of wad these up to get them moving. That'll warm them up and get these 2 separate pieces really stuck together before I roll them out. So I'm going to start with that, and again, roll this out like I'm using a rolling pin. And I know that I've got some extra here that's sticking out. I can take that, move it on to the ends here. Pick it up, flip it over, keep rolling. And let's check to see if it fits. All right, it does. Okay, if anything, that one was a little too long, but that'll be okay. So I can trim off the extra right here, or I can just kind of let it continue around. Either way is fine. I do need to make sure that I warm both these pieces up again. So hold it in my hand, this in my hand, get it nice and warm, and roll it up. So cut that extra off and then seal that up. All right, so from here, again, I want to make sure these 2 or 3 layers stick to each other. So I'm going to roll it around in my hand, keep it warm, and then I'm going to roll it out on the table. So what I'm looking for here is, I'm hoping, I guess, probably it's going to be about 4 inches long, but more really I'm paying attention to the diameter of it. So I'm going to roll this out. I'm looking for it to be 1 centimeter. So this is, you can see, is almost 1.5. So keep rolling that out. Until it's 1 centimeter. It's a little bit big. Okay, so again, that's about 1 centimeter, and it's just a little over 4 inches, so that works pretty good. This needs to sit in the fridge to be able to cut it without messing it up. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge. So for that, you wanna put your name or your initials on your bag, and we're gonna store it in the bag. And you'll get it back the next day. That way, when we cut it, it doesn't mush. When I get this back from the fridge, I'm going to cut it right in half, and I'm going to leave half of it completely alone. I'm going to show you how to make a lace with that one. This one, I'm going to go ahead and chop into, should be 8 equal pieces. So again, having chilled out in the fridge for a bit, that's our bullseye. So I'm going to chop that into equal pieces. The end piece doesn't always, or I guess it's this end, the end piece isn't always pretty. We still might find a use for that. We can include that in part of our pendant that I'll explain later. But that is how we make our bullseye. Okay, so let's talk about another method that we're going to use that starts off with the bullseye and creates a lace. So this piece was the leftover part of the bullseye. I'm going to go ahead and roll this out now. And I'm going to roll this out into 4-inch piece. So I am stretch that out until it's 4 inches, and then I'm going to chop this up. So I'm going to chop it in half, and in half again, and in half again, and I'm going to stack these onto each other. Okay, so this is what's the start of it, and what it's going to end up looking like. This is a different color, obviously, but we call this a lace. So the more pieces that you would like in there, the more pieces you could chop this into. So I chopped this into fourths. If you wanted more in there of those of that lacy pattern, you could chop this into sixths, and you'll end up with more of that. So I'm just going to do the 4. So my job here is to warm this up. So if this one was in the fridge for a while, I'm going to make sure each of these pieces are nice and warm, so that I can stick them together like so. And I'm going to roll that out again. So this time when I roll this out, should roll out to about 2 inches or so. Again, my goal for this one is going to be for it to be 1 centimeter. In depth, and again that's going to be about 2 inches. So from here, this is going to go back in the fridge so we can cut it. Again, needed to make sure it's nice and warm before we roll that together. This one is out of the fridge, so you're not really going to see a whole bunch until you start cutting. So you cut the end off, you can see what that lace pattern does. So I'm going to chop this into 4 equal pieces. I can't remember if I needed 4. And then I'm going to chop those in half again. There we go. So that's what we needed. We needed 8 pieces. Alright, so you can see all the little lacy pieces there. And again, when I did this, I created a piece that had 4. If you want more dots of different colors, you would just do 6 or so in there to get that lace look.